All right, I think let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. My name is Meredith Call, and I serve as the Director for Parent and Family Services. And I have Dr. Lisa Kerr here with me today to help share with you tips and resources in order to ensure that your student is successful over the next few weeks as we run into final exams. We're writing headlog into it. Your student's got about a week and a half worth of classes left, and then exams start up. And so today's presentation is all about how you can best help your student prepare to tackle those final exams. What support and services can you give them from afar, as well as what are we going to be doing here on UAB's campus to make sure that your student is super successful. I want to go through a couple of just general items before we get started. The toolbar on your screen related to this webinar is going to be how you control everything today. And so there should be an orange button with an arrow on it right at the very far left-hand side of the monitor of the panel. If you click on that, that will minimize the screen itself, so that may help you a little bit in regards to being able to see all of the presentation. Also, I've gone ahead and tried to mute everybody. However, please ensure that you've also muted your specific your sound as well, just to ensure that no one gets any reverb back and forth between everyone. I want to just ensure that everyone can hear it the easiest and best way possible. And because we are muting you all, there is a chat function on the lower left-hand corner. Chat function at the very bottom, rather. That is going to be how we will type back and forth for everyone to be able to hear any questions or to be able to share any questions. And then we will have Lisa help us in sharing and answering any questions that you may have. So again, we'll use that chat function at the very bottom. And please make sure that you don't include any type of identifying information related to your student, specifically student ID numbers, social security numbers, or anything along those lines, because this information will be recorded and shared on our website for individuals who weren't able to join us today to be able to see. And I do not want anyone to have access to your student's specific information. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lisa Kerr so that she can start to kind of share with you some of the different resources and opportunities and programs that are available both for your student as well as for yourself to make sure that they have a successful end to this fall semester. So Lisa?
Thanks, Meredith. And good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with you today, and I'm looking forward to sharing this information. But most importantly, I'm really looking forward to, if you at any point in time have any questions, please click on that chat button. My time is literally here for you, and I want to make sure that we're getting your questions answered first and foremost. So I hope you all enjoyed the Thanksgiving break with your students. I know that I absolutely loved having some family time as well. So without any further ado, here we go. So the purposes of today's webinar are really to provide you with some insights regarding what the norm looks like for finals week stress with your student. We're also going to review academic and co-curricular support that'll be available for students, so you can be aware of that. Not should they, but when they call you with that state of panic. And share ways that you can, as we like to say in the business, support on the sly, or just provide some support from a distance. This is an important transformational process for your students in the larger scheme of student development. And the sense of accomplishment that comes from making it through their finals week is really empowering for students. And so we encourage you to definitely support and provide that parental support and family guidance, but also in a way that's maybe a little less intrusive, in the sense that it might not be as obvious for them. So the students really do feel empowered by the end of the process. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, as I started, really most importantly, answer any questions that you may have regarding how we work here to support student success and how we might be able to work with you to better do that. Okay, so students are into all sorts of tests, so we're going to give you a little quiz too. So I want you to just, if you got a pen and paper, or just as you're sitting listening, I want you to think about your student and typically what a stressful week looks like for them. They've all had finals at some point in time, so I'm sure you have some experience with that. So is your student going to tend to display increased nervous energy, or do they tend to want a lot more naps during that stress week of finals? Are they a student that really needs for more sleep, or are they a student that even though they're super tired, they have that inability to sleep? Are they going to be munchy, have that increased appetite? Do we need to be thinking about, okay, goodness, we need to make sure that they have the right foods? Or are they going to have decreased appetite, and it may be a matter of encouraging just eat something? Your student may be interested in chatting, actually on the phone, not just via the text. Or are they going to be a student that really wants more of the psychosocial space, just kind of leave me alone and let me do my thing? So it's important to kind of recognize that throughout these next couple of weeks, likely your student is going to do all of those things. There will be moments of absolute exhaustion, nervous energy, all of them. So as much as you know your student, recognize that this process coming through at the university setting could be a little bit different. So just want to take a minute to pause. You've got your student in mind. You have an idea of kind of what they look like during a typical stressful situation. But I want to take you back a little bit. So if you think about the fact that an engaged parent of a 6-month-old, you're so excited to see the baby roll over. We clap because the baby can sit up with support, and then without support. Some 6-month-olds might even be able to get up on their hands and knees and start rocking back and forth. And that was really, really fun and very exciting. But then if you think about what could they do just 4 months later? These same parents who were 4 months earlier clapping and encouraging the child who was sitting up without support is scrambling to baby-proof those spaces, are working really hard to make sure that everything now is in line for this new child that is out there. And so it's exciting, but it's also extremely exhausting. And so I share that because I think it's really, really important for folks to realize that during the past 4 months, your student has experienced a similar development process. And the reality is you probably have too. If you're listening to this, you're likely engaged and definitely a part of this process and wanting to support your student. So I encourage you to take a moment and to realize and to recognize, while we don't tend to celebrate the simple success of making it through the first semester at the university level, especially a very competitive and comprehensive institution like UAB, it's a big deal. And so want to make sure that we're taking the moments to realize the ways that your child has grown and the way that you have changed, and hopefully in some levels that relationship that you have with them. So maybe that will help to explain why they're a little exhausted, and you may be as well. So back to the purpose, insights regarding the normal finals week. There will be moments where your student will definitely show signs of increased levels of stress. Some of that can be from time to time manic. If your student is somebody that has a history with some psychosocial concerns or with kind of moody behavior, I know we're talking about teenagers, so I don't know of anybody who doesn't. But just to kind of think about that and put that into perspective, and this is really important. The stress levels that we go through on a daily basis, the stress levels that, for example, an ambulance driver, they're saving lives every day. They're making a difference in others' lives every day. Take that same level of stress. Now, is it different? Sure. Students are not saving others' lives every day, but they're making decisions every day at this point in time in the semester that does influence and impact the outcome of their life. And whether or not they are aware of that stress, they're all carrying that stress. So the ups and downs are very legit, and the students will show them in different ways. So the important thing is how can you prepare yourself? And for you to take a couple of moments and say, what am I going to do when that frantic phone call comes? And have a conversation with your support systems, have a conversation with others who you know the student may be reaching out to as well, so that there is a constant and a very consistent message of encouragement and advice if you so choose to go that route, but that they're hearing a consistent message of you can do this. So that's really important. Think of different ways in the next couple of weeks. How can you from a distance bring a smile to your students' day? Is that sending a reassuring text? Joe, you got this. We're so proud of you. Is that sending a joke, motivational? Really important, again, to go back to thinking about how your student has handled stress in the past. Think about what do you know would work for them and in what kind of combination. I do want to take a moment here to reiterate and note that I didn't suggest calling your student. This is a really important thing to note, that with all the engagement activities, studying, but also projects, recognize that they are going to be the support system for their friends who are feeling stressed out as well. There's a lot of new transitional developmental processes that transpire during this time. And it may sound silly, but the stress of the interruption from the parent on the phone can be something that is a distraction or adds to the students. So I encourage you to let your student know, hey, I'm not necessarily going to reach out to you via phone. If you want to talk, give me a call. Again, you know your student best. You may say, oh no, they're never going to call me. If you can, for the next 10 to 15 days, kind of let that be and see how that process works for you. But I encourage you to continue to communicate. Text messaging is great. I wish we would have had that back in the day when I was in school. But the phone calls can cause a little anxiety. So the other side of that is, if you are going to make those phone calls, or you do know, I definitely want to hear your voice, that's reassuring. This is part of your transition and process well. You want to make sure they're doing okay. Set up a time for them when to call and when you'll connect with them, and get that set up and purpose. Also, do what you can to make sure that they are prepared. Work ways. Do they have healthy snacks for munching? Whether your student is an individual who typically doesn't eat when they're stressed out, it may be different here. The environment is different, and they're experiencing these stressors in a new way, surrounded by new peers. So making sure they have healthy snacks for that around. Another thing is to make sure that your student is aware of when their exams are. I just yesterday in my first year experience class went over that with the students, and many of them were surprised and kind of had this blank look on their face. So your exam schedule does not follow the same schedule as your every other week class schedule. There are very specific times and days that your exams may be scheduled. Your class may be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, but your exam may take place on Tuesday afternoon. So if and when you're talking to your student, make sure that they're prepared and knowing they can look on their syllabus. That information should be within the syllabus or in their Canvas shell. That's another great place where they can find that information. Or if they are not finding it in either of those places, they can either reach out to their academic advisor or come to the VMASC, the Academic Success Center, and we can walk them through that process. There is a schedule online that says final exam schedules, and we can help them interpret, if your class is at this time and it's this section, this is when you will have your exam, and we can help walk them through that. So we want to make sure that they're prepared for that. And then just other stress relief things. What do they need? Crayons, workout clothes, bubble wrap. What is it that your child does, or your student does, in order to relieve some of that stress? So just help them to be prepared so that when those moments happen, they do have something where they can reach out and relieve a little bit. Okay, so general notes. If your student is planning on traveling back to you a distance after finals are done, the best thing to do at this point in time is, if you don't have those plans set, have a conversation about getting those plans set for them and with them, or at least so that they know that, okay, there is a plan. They, again, may not necessarily be aware that that's another layer of low-grade stress that may be influencing the interactions that they're having with you, you with them, and with their peers. So just that sense of the unknown of, when am I getting home? How am I getting home? When is that going to happen? That's an important thing. So if you can have that, get that set, that would be a great thing to do. Again, this goes back to calling. Send them an "I'm thinking of you" text if they don't call you when you have set that up, that time to call, but really provide them the space and give them the authority to kind of guide that relationship with you at this point, to the best of your comfort. And this allows them to really work into the most desired adult relationship, and can really go a long way for you in their connection with you also when they return home from the holidays. And if they call in a panic, definitely encourage you to kind of have a sense for what you might want to say. But before you say anything, honestly, just that listening, as hard as it might be, to just listen to them. And then, in the way that you know your student will best receive the questions, ask them some guiding questions, or give them the space to help them figure out what they need, and then how they can get and where they can get the support that they need. As started off in the beginning of this session, making it through finals is an amazingly empowering experience for students. And if they know, okay, yes, I did freak out and I called, but ultimately I did help find the answers and I did get there, the next time when they have that sense of panic or that concern, they're more likely to have and put into place those resiliency skills of finding the answer, or finding somebody close by in their environment that can help them be very independent and get the services that they need. If through that process they seem lost, or they're still really concerned about, I just don't know, I can't do this, just remind them that the Vulcan Material Academic Success Center is there. So for anything related to academic questions, their syllabi, concerns of that nature, and the First Year Experience Office is also affiliated with that office, and that is located in the Education Building, which is right across from Starbucks in the Stern Library. I guarantee your student knows where the Starbucks is in the Stern Library. So if they're like, I don't know where that is, because they may be in a mode of panic, do they know where Starbucks is in Stern Library? Go stand outside of that Starbucks, turn your back to Starbucks, look across the patio, and that's where the Academic Success Center is. And there will be somebody there that can help them and talk them through any kind of crisis or perceived crisis that they're dealing with. Another place where they can go is to the One Stop. One Stop is an office on the first floor of the Hill Student Center. Again, I'm confident that all your students know where the Hill Center is. And so that's another great place where they can go and get their questions answered, or somebody can help them identify what resources that they may need. So those are two things for you to have in your back pocket if they do call in a panic and just appear like they don't know where to take things. A few more little notes. So successful students typically do not have a social life during finals. That is an okay thing. That is what will most likely be transpiring throughout this campus. So your students may indicate to you, if they're talking to you, campus has changed. There's a different vibe on campus. And right now, coming back from Thanksgiving, from this point through the end of finals, there is a very different vibe on campus, on pretty much any campus that I've ever worked on. Your upper level students are aware that the crunch has come, and folks are walking with their heads focused, their earbuds in, thinking, learning, talking, philosophizing. I mean, it is all forward right now. And so there is going to be a little bit of a different vibe. So the sense of, are they really that stressed out? Even if your student doesn't necessarily feel that innate sense of stress within their being, the environment on campus right now, there's an energy, a bit of a stressful energy that is just kind of overseeing everything, which is great, and that it helps students focus, but it is there. So if your students are talking about that, that again is a very legitimate and valid statement, and that's the encouragement of, sincerely, if they like to color, send them a box of crayons. If they like to play with art, send them some paint. If they like to work out, send them a little care package with a new pair of running, socks or whatever. But make sure that they're prepared to kind of handle that process. Again, things that we talk about with the students: basic health, sleep, hydration, exercise, and eating are their best friends during these times. So tell them to hang out with these characters, these practices, these activities as if they are their friends. You shouldn't be having too much of a social life. When you are interacting with your peers and your friends, it really should be focused on the academic and the studying, or doing some stress relief together. But in that environment and that understanding of, we're doing this for this limited time and then we're going to get back to it. There are only 14 days left. They can do this. They've got it. They can do it. But the amount of investment and time that they will put into these next couple of weeks can make a huge difference. So encourage them to sleep, stay hydrated. A lot of students forget about the hydration fact, especially if your student is from another part of the country. We still have some warm days. It's going to be 74 here today. So that hydration piece can get missed, but definitely want to encourage that. The exercise can be as simple as walking across campus, and then just eating well. I just threw in a couple of sample fun texts to send. And if you go on Google and you type supportive text for my first year student or supportive text for my college student, these things will pop up. I just wanted to make sure that I stated that. Don't be afraid to just send them randomly. In fact, I encourage it. If you yourself are extremely busy, I know I set timers on my phone, as silly as that sounds. I put little notes in my Outlook calendar to remind me to send my daughter a text every once in a while that just says, it pops up and says, Fia's taking a test. And I'm like, oh, so I send a text to her real quick that just says, you got this, Sophia, you can do this. So whatever that looks like for you, just encourage that. So a quick review of some of the resources that we have on campus, so that, as a reminder, we talked through all of these at orientation, but just, orientation was a while ago, and I don't know how much of that you would remember. So just to let you know, the quick review of resources. But before we get into this, the number one resource I really want to encourage you to be aware of that is here for your students are the people that work at UAB. We are all very aware of the stress and of the purpose and the function and the excitement of this time of finals. So if you cannot remember any of these specific resources, just encourage you to ask that student, reach out, who's their RA, who's on their floor, who is a professor. But any of the students there, if they're truly in a sense of panic or perceived crisis, or if they're just kind of stressing out and they don't know where to ask those questions to, the number one resource are faculty and staff who will be here to support them and answer their questions. Specifically academically, I've mentioned the Vulcan Material Academic Success Center before. We are still functioning. We are still providing tutoring sessions. This is one of our busiest times of the year. One-on-one free tutoring, those sessions are booking up. So encourage your student, if they have any questions or concerns about that, tutoring is there. SI is still going on. That's at supplemental instruction. We are adding additional study hours and study tables. For more information on what's available and when those different topics are available and where they are located, you can go to the uab.edu and then /success, and that's the Vulcan Material Academic Success Center, and that will show you where all of those resources are available. We are also, if your student is living on campus, we are providing study tables and tutoring in New Fresh in the residence hall. If your student is not a residential student, they can still come in, sign in, and still receive tutoring and hang out at the study tables. And those study tables are staffed by students, upperclassmen who serve as tutors as well. So the study tables are definitely there staffed for them, and that is for all students. And the reason that we're doing that is so that we can do extended hours during this time of the year. So we are in the residence halls up through 9, sometimes 10 o'clock at night, there with the students, because the Academic Success Center, that building closes at 7. Remind your students that study groups are still a thing that they can definitely do, but again, encourage them. If they want to be an A student, it is best for them to hang out with the A students. So if they're going to do study groups, encourage them to do so with successful and focused students. The Writing Center and the Math Lab are also still functioning and working through, so those are available. The library, the first floor of the library is a pretty social space. However, if you go up a couple of floors, you'll find some great quiet study rooms and some spaces there. And the librarians are also there as a resource for students. As I mentioned before, UAB cares, we really do, so just the people here can serve as a great resource. And then if there's a moment of concern, you do have the counseling center, the recreation center, the Hill Center, for places to go and relieve stress. That is what I have prepared. Hopefully that was helpful for you and kind of met your expectations. But at this point in time, I'd love to just provide you with the opportunity to ask any questions that you might have and see how we might better support you as you support your students.
Again, if you have questions, the best way to communicate them is through the chat function, which is on the lower bottom part of the toolbar, the toggles for the webinar. If you'll just type in your questions, and then we will share it to everyone. I do want to take this moment while we're waiting to see if there's any questions to come in to thank Lisa so much for her time to come over and share this with you. She has really done an amazing amount of work over the past year and a half to ensure what the resources and programs and services that we are offering to students. And it's big things from things such as SI or other programs that she has SI or tutoring or all of those components that she talks about. The office, the VMASC office also does a lot for your student at various times to just help them with that stress relief. So they did a midterm madness back closer to time for students to come over and get help with classes, but also get a little bit of food and kind of a breakaway. They've done it before at finals time.
We'll do it again.
And they're going to be doing it again this time. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to make sure for your student, regardless of what major or year or anything that they have, but that we are wanting them to be successful in getting them out and coming to be into the classroom, out of the classroom and into various other options so that they can be successful within the class. And so we really are here to help in any way we can. So what questions, though, can we help answer? We mentioned, and Lisa mentioned a couple times about sending things to your student as far as things to help them just feel that they've got that love and support, which I know they definitely have since you're logging in to learn more about this.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just remind you all that there is that opportunity to send a care package directly to your student. You should have received a couple of different emails about those. They are $18, and what we are doing from our office is it gives you an opportunity, one, to do a customizable note saying and sharing with your student as much information and love and support that you want to share. We also will get this delivered directly to the student's room. It is not going to a mail room or a package room or anything along those lines. It is directly to them. And we do this truly as an opportunity so that you can share that excitement and support to your students. So I hope that you will, if you haven't already, that you will take advantage of that, or that you create some type of other care package component, and it doesn't have to cost a lot. It really doesn't. And it truly can be a card. It's just that there's something about that tangible thing in the mail that we get so rarely anymore. especially as a student, that really does make a big difference for all of our students. It made a big difference when I was in school many moons ago, and it continues to be a fun thing for students.
And I would encourage for you to know if your student is just saying, well, there's nothing to do here during finals week, which is not quite true. There's a lot. There's a level of stress going on around campus, but there's still some activity going on. We do have a couple of days, the last 2 days of classes, beginning on December 7, that Thursday, within the Academic Success Center. We are running day activities. So we will have t-shirts out there for students to tie-dye their UAB shirts, and we will allow them to tie-dye those. We have yoga classes going, meditation. At night, we stay open late until 10, 11 o'clock, till whenever the students leave, actually, and we have faculty flipping pancakes and feeding them all sorts of things like that, and providing them with opportunities to continue to study with tutors in that sense. So that's just called the De-Stress Fest. So if you're trying, the students like, there really isn't much to do and I'm bored, I'm getting stressed out because of lack of activity opportunities, again, encourage them to either stop by the Hill Center, see what's going on with student activities, or the Academic Success Center, and we can get them plugged in. But I thank you all for your time, and really, really, it's been a privilege to be a part of the process for your students. And if you have questions, we'll hang out here for a little bit longer, but thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to me yammer.
Yes, definitely. And if you have questions post this, please always feel free to email families@uab.edu. I am happy to help answer or get you connected to a correct area related to any of our different programs or services that we offer to you or your students, or a combination therein. So reach out at any point, and we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. There we go. And they're starting to kick off.
Yeah.